thank you to the organizers for putting us last in the day. One promise that we will try to make this conversation as interesting as possible. One more request, while we will try to make it interesting, I request all of you to make it interactive. So when we have opened the floor for questions, please participate, please ask a lot of questions. Please trouble all the panelists. And moderator, I'm not counting the moderator because I have the unique responsibility of staying away from all the responsibilities. But I look forward to a fantastic discussion today. We have an August panel with us today, compromising of insurance, wealth management, banking, payments, and somebody who's also providing the back-end support and providing a content engine to all of us. So it's a unique panel. While yes, the focus is on the fine print behind marketing and this thing, we are not going to focus too much on fine print over here. And that's the liberty we have taken because we wanted to keep, as I remember I told you I want to keep this discussion, really want to keep it engaging. So less on fine print, more on marketing. That's what the session will be today. So let's start. My first question actually is to Senthil. Now, Senthil, you come from Bank of Baroda. A Bank of Baroda is a bank which, in spite of its size, in spite of the legacy, is always seen as forefront of innovation, forefront of technology, doing a lot of new initiatives that really actually then gradually become the norm for the industry. And my question is might be a little controversial. How does this happen in a bank which is of this size, this legacy, with the perception of the PSU banks? How does this manage, and how do you create that environment culture within such large organization of innovation, of tech-led, of customer focusedness?
Okay, thank you. That's a very challenging question which you have posed. It was the start of the panel. Let me just give a background to our vision statement. If you see Bank of Baroda, our vision statement to be a national bank of international standards with augmenting stakeholders' value to the customers and other stakeholders by care, concern, and competence. So these values which we in our organization from top management, we drive a very strong message that the vision statement is not just a statement, but it's a culture in the bank. And particularly, if you see all this, the words in this statement is care for the customers, what the customer requirements are, concern, what are the regulatory concerns, what are the customer concerns, and then a commitment from the bank. So basically, in Bank of Baroda, we are now 16.5 crore plus customers we are having. And in a day, we are doing more than 7 crore transactions, of which 90% is digital transactions. We have 55,000 BCs who are business correspondents, who are serving the far-flung areas of the country. Not only that, we are technically a highly equipped bank, but at the same time, when I said the first statement, we are a national agenda is also there. We serve the far-flung areas of the country by not only technology, at the same time, through personal and human touch also. And if you see our account opening, we open in a year more than 60 lakh accounts. And almost 90% of these accounts are opened through tab, and it's not only direct by the customer, it's self-assisted. We have a large network of branches, 8,000 branches we have 80,000 staff, but all is not enough unless we are having the culture from the top that not only technology, but also the human intervention at all strategic points is very much required to bring the kind of service to the customers. And right now, if you see currently the market is so dynamic, so ever changing. And at Bank of Baroda, you asked the first question that how you are managing that. We got to manage all the regulatory requirements, but at the same time, we are continuously adapting to the changes of the customer requirements. Basically, this I will attribute it to our strong management culture. From the top, we are given the freedom to think innovative, and we are, if you see, a forward-looking bank kind of entity. We are always been presumed by the market as a forward-looking banking entity. At the same time, we are largely governed by our very big, very rich legacy of 115 years legacy, and the entire government initiatives and other initiatives are being promoted by the bank. So if you bring it down, we are highly prepared for the technological requirements. We are doing a lot of innovation in the space of technology on the banking side, be it data lake, be it architecture, be it the latest artificial intelligence and how we are going to use the OpenAI technology and other latest developments happening. But at the same time, we are not forgetting that we have a very strong legacy and also a very fundamental objective to service the customer in person also. This is supported by both technology as well as by our resources in field. That's what I said, the strength of the any big bank will be having this many customers, but the agenda and the culture is that is driven from the top. So that really differentiates our position in the market, that we are able to have bring to the customer both the mix of a legacy brand as well as foresighted bank with doing a lot of things on technology side. If I'm answered your question.
So, yeah, absolutely. So you are actually essentially saying a vision and a drive driven from the top, backed by technology, but ultimately it's the front-end delivery that matters, and that's where the culture plays a huge role. Thank you. Thank you, Senthil. Lalitha, you know, NPCI, you come from NPCI, and you know, you are into an organization or into an industry where the frequency of transactions is extremely high. The ticket sizes are fairly low as compared to other industries, but the frequency of transactions is extremely high. So I'm sure, you know, there's a lot of tech behind it. But at the same time, there's a huge human involvement by everybody who's doing a payment, because the payment is being done for a purpose. But you do not have the luxury of a physical infrastructure of a bank, which probably will give a lot of a lot of focus to the brand. So amongst this mishmash of high frequency transaction, high involvement, no physical infrastructure, backed by technology, how do you bring it all together? I can only think it's very difficult to do, but can you give us some insights as to how do you all bring this together?
So correction, Abhishek, our transactions range from 1 rupee to 1 crore.
1 crore on a...
Because we have products which are like, we have UPI, we have IMPS. In IMPS, you can go up to as much amounts as you would like to.
Absolutely, yeah.
We have NACH, we have AEPS, we have RuPay. So our product range, so every digital payment that happens in India, there's a high possibility that it is going through our platforms. Very, very high possibility, of almost 90%.
Yeah.
Other than RTGS and NEFT, most of the digital payments that happen across our platforms. So to answer your questions, there is a mismatch. Absolutely correct. There's a very large human intervention that happens with us. We have 450 million users. Our daily transactions.
45 crore users.
That is the number we have.
1/3 of the country.
That's right. And we have, and if UPI is down for 5 seconds, thousands of payments in India, millions of payments in India stop. That is so our servers, our technology have to be top notch. So that is the first part of your question. The second part of our question is, how do we manage to ensure that the customer still, there is no face to our technology. It's not supposed to have one. However, the convenience, so let me give you an example. When you get into the rickshaw and when you scan the code, you expect that by the time you get off the rickshaw, the payment has been made. When the payment's not made is when your irritability goes up. That 2 seconds to us is extremely important. And you would find that across all of National Payment Corporation of India's payments and interfaces that we work on. Now, coming to the human touch and as marketing, we do address a lot of consumer grievances. We do address a lot of, because there's a lot of safety issues, there's a lot of fraud issues, there are a lot of awareness issues. We want that number of 450 million subscribers to go, users to go up to as much as possible. We have to deal with smartphones, we deal with feature phones. So we try coming up with newer products which ensure, in fact, we recently came up with about 2 products which ensure that we go beyond smartphones, we go offline without internet. Some of our products are going to now start working without internet. You can transact up to 500 rupees on Litex without internet, anywhere in the country. So that is the kind of products we come. As marketing, my biggest challenge is that I have to still ensure that the customization of my communication is not missed, and it is still ensures that you feel special. So, but our different products have different TG. UPI talks to a particular age group and a particular, it talks to almost everybody, but then it specifically talks to a specific TG. RuPay credit card, RuPay debit card, RuPay on the go talk to multiple TGs. We have EEPS, etc., etc. It's a multi-layered problem which we have to settle every day. And how do we manage it? It's simply that technology is very easy for us to work with because it gives us analytics, it gives us data, it gives us information. The insights of it is what we have tried to evolve over a period of time. We've tried to understand. We do it with a lot of research. We regularly do dipsticks. In fact, we have a very robust research team that ensures that regularly the market talks back to us. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes and no. The reason I'm saying no is, and I'm not coming back to you for a question. First point of this thing is, you know, in our industry, I've seen many times, I'm from a life insurance business, there are many times there are downtimes that happen, logging in policy, our advisors feel the heat, they're not able to log in a policy or everything. But I cannot even imagine what you said, ki agar 5 seconds ke liye bhi, if that network is down, what is the mammoth effect, spiraling effect that will have on the entire brand. So I'm sure the CTO job in your company is not the most looked after job.
It's actually because that person evolves a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. But, you know, one message I'll take away from what you said, and probably that message to all the fellow marketeers over here, is if a company having 45 crore customer is talking about personalization, then for companies like all of us, we'll probably do not even have 10% of those customers. And if we can't even think of personalization or start working in the area of personalization, I don't think we are doing our job as marketeers, because personalization is going to go way forward. So don't think that the size will actually stop you from doing personalization. Personalization can be done. And Lalitha, probably I will have an offline discussion with you about what do you mean by personalization in your business. Talking about personalization, one of the backbones of personalization is content. Because ultimately it's the content that is consumed by the consumers, it is the content that is consumed by the distributors, it is the content that is consumed by the employees of the company. So my question to you, Kishan, because you work in the content field, while I wanted to ask you a different question earlier, but as we were talking backstage, you came across a very interesting concept that actually piqued my interest. You actually took a name of a term which was called as a lifetime value of content. Up till now, I was figuring lifetime value of customer, but you talked about lifetime value of content. Can you help us decode this word?
Yeah, sure. So I always feel that content as a whole, like all of us have been content companies. Like that's motto of our company as well. We say every company is a content company. We've all been selling our products, but before selling any product, what we sell to the consumer is the content about the product, basically. Now what happens is people, all of us in the wake of consuming so much content every day, forget the amount of compounding that interrelated content pieces do to an individual, basically. So for example, just think of it this way, right? I mean, when I look at paid marketing and when I look at content marketing, right, both of it together, the biggest disadvantage today that I have in paid marketing is it would stop the day I stop pumping in money, basically. And I think with the entire so-called recession wave going on, I think we see a lot of organizations, the new age startups, which are burning a lot of money across reducing their spends in the paid marketing side. On the other front, people who have done content marketing really to the core. I think I have Sachin on the panel. They're one of the companies who did content marketing much earlier in time at the mass scale that you did at, right? It has compounded so much over the last few years that today it's become, I think, one of the most prominent channels, if I'm not wrong, for you guys in this case. Content marketing is like that one term which is, it's like the one thing that compounds every day, basically. So if you're investing it, say, in today, 10 years down the line, I might have 10 of my web pages giving me the maximum amount of leads that I have. So the way people always looked at content marketing was, I won't spend on it because I won't be able to get an ROI as an immediate gratification to it like I do on my paid. But people forget the fact that you're not building for the next 2 years or next 6 months. So there have been enough and more examples. And I think the market has also evolved much about the last 4 or 5 years that we've seen ourselves, where this lifetime value of content is always going to be increasing. So effectively, your CAC that is coming out from content marketing, all of us are marketers here, I can use the word CAC particularly, is going to get reduced with every passing day that I spend on. So I think from an organizational perspective and that goal, that's what I actually mean by the term lifetime value of content. And I think see a lot of companies these days, most of people on the panel right now, I see a lot of us taking those initiatives towards content as well. Yeah, that's the answer to what you asked.
Okay, thank you for this. I'm actually reminded of an incident from a podcast that I was listening. This podcast was of the author James Clear, who has written the fantastic book Atomic Habits. Somebody asked him on, and he was talking about and now the concept becomes very clear to me. Actually, he had written an article on habits versus Newton's laws of physics. And he had written an article, it was an online article, and after writing the article, he actually forgot about it. And after 3 years, as he was coming out with his book, or as he was writing his book, Atomic Habits, somebody from CBS News got in touch with him because that person had read his article on Newton's law of physics and how it can apply to, and you can integrate it within habits. Because of that article, James Clear got an interview in CBS, and where CBS, when he got talking about that article, he also told them that I'm going to write a book. And they said, when you write a book, the first launch will be on our platform. So the content that he wrote 3 years back was actually managed to help him launch his book in a much larger way in which he would have ever envisaged. And that probably is a perfect example of lifetime value of content. So thank you for this. I think this is a concept we as marketers need to probably put in our kitty of arsenal that is there available to us, that whatever content we put, and if we are smart about it, it can actually continue giving us dividends. Something like probably an advertising that we do and hoping that it is going towards brand building. A lifetime value of content is also a way to build your brand. Thank you for this, Kishan. Sapna, coming to a bilkul different industry that we are talking about, which is health insurance. Now, typically, this is a product which consumers buy every year because you have to renew it every year. There are some products which probably you can buy for 2 or 3 years. But because the customer has to renew every year and customer has to buy every year, I am presuming, don't have data with me, but I'm presuming there's a lot of churn that happens. Customers keep on changing their insurers, and they might also be probably not continuing with the insurance further. So in this part, of number one is I would like if you can throw some lights on how do you manage this churn so that your customers don't go away. At the same time, you would obviously be interested in any customers who are churning from other health insurance companies to come to you. How do you work on that? And probably if you can give us some good real life insights about this, can really help us.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Really glad to be here, speaking to all of you. And thank you all for not churning yet. You've stayed across the whole day. So a big round of applause to all of you. Yeah? So, interesting question, I think, when you, talked about it. But, before I go there, I just, in terms of insights, I just want to ask in this room, I'm assuming there's most of people working. So all of you all have a corporate insurance, hands up, corporate health insurance. Yeah, who all have a corporate health insurance? That's it? Come on, really? Yeah, right, you would have. How many of you all have a personal health insurance? That's more than the people who have corporate health insurance, actually. So, it's quite a good feeling to see that. So I think the health insurance industry has really changed. I've been in this business now, actually, over a decade in this sector. So from earlier, when people would say health insurance being a waste of money and stuff like that, honestly, now I don't think people see it like that. People see it more like, which health insurance should I have? The conversations are much deeper. Of course, not across India, we're still underinsured and underpenetrated, but there is a segment of audience post-COVID who do value health insurance. Yeah, so I think that's, because I remember, you would have campaigns and advertising like, what if something happens, then you need health insurance. Now it's really about what if, scenario backwards, like COVID happens. So we've all seen that in COVID and, a scenario like that, anybody can fall sick. Because earlier the feeling was, oh, I'm not going to, fall sick. And now you know that any one of us can fall sick and have huge medical bills. So you have to pay and invest for a risk product because Indians don't really used to. I'm just saying there's a lot of change that's happening. So I think let's just spark that. The point on churn, actually, honestly, yes, in the terms of fine print, we are, it's an annual renewal. Yeah. So it's an annual contract. But in Manipal Cigna, we've had a very high persistency. We call it persistency. Very high persistency ratio. I mean, upwards of 80, 85. So we don't see that much of a churn. I think churn may be more if people just buy for the price. Now in a health insurance product, you're buying for the entire value and the whole relationship. So I think the way we present it or the way the relationships are built on the whole product proposition, on the network, on the service, and the entire customer lifetime value. So we follow the model of customer lifetime value and, try to have engagements across the life cycle that we have with the customer. And I mean, we are hoping that we really take that number to a 90% above. So there will be churn because we do have some intermediaries. So we don't sell directly to consumers. So I have seen, so I also head digital sales where we sell direct business. In that, honestly, the churn is much lesser. You see churn happening when you're selling through intermediaries because, 1 year they'll probably sell here, another year. So that does happen. It's reducing, but that's a model that some people have. So overall, I think if, from the perspective of the question you asked, I think churn can be really managed in our sector by the value you provide the customer in terms of your products, in terms of your service, in terms of the experience. And the customers are much more evolved now. I think they understand the benefits and they understand the benefit if they will have a long-standing relationship because, things like, I'm assuming people are from the sector, like things like PEDs are covered, if you have been with the organization for 3 years. So you have much more benefits if you stick along the journey with any health insurance provider. So I think that's what I'd like to give a crisp answer.
Okay, so just probably I have a very kind of controversial or kind of a humorous question to ask you over here. Do you still encounter that mentality कि अगर मैंने 20,000 रुपए का health insurance लिया है तो मेरा hospitalization इससे ऊपर का होना चाहिए?
See, yeah. So actually, पहले होता था, अभी बहुत कम है because I mean कोई hospitalization 20,000 से कम होता ही नहीं है. So you know, it is a product that you're going to use in your lifetime, and you know all insurance. I think it's a beautiful product because you know hope you never use it, but many of us will use this product in our lifetime. You know, and the equation is really good. I mean, the probability and the value that the product provides is, you know, I think, you know, I must congratulate all the health insurance companies for being able to, you know, do this and still be profitable, because the amount of claims that, you know, if you see the numbers, are very high, especially in a country like ours where we don't have the government ecosystem. So all the private companies are really taking their head on, being able to provide this service. And even the government of India, and I've been part of a lot of these forums with FICCI and IRDI, they've taken this whole thing of insurance for all 547. Yeah. So for example, we are a lead insurer for the state of Karnataka, and there are various other companies who are lead insurers. So increasing awareness, giving the right product, making sure people, because this is the only fallback that many Indians have. So I think this attitude is definitely evolving.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm all for, you know, that facility. Like in life insurance, we say that although the penetration level is fairly high for life insurance, the problem that we face is underinsurance. And I think it is upon the regulator as well as the insurers to ensure that this problem of underinsurance and this problem of less coverage needs to be tackled, because when the time comes, not having an insurance, whether it is health or whether it is life, can be really, really, actually, it can cause a huge dent in the family's finances. Thank you, Sapna. Sachin, you know, you come from the asset side of the business. Yeah, and you also are from a company which acts as an aggregator and offers a full suite of options to the customers when the customer has a particular need. But, and it could be my perception, there is a huge product parity amongst all the options that you provide in front of the customers. So most of the time, the decision that the consumer takes is probably dependent upon the interest rates and the amount of the loan or amount of the product that is buying in terms of how much limit I am getting and everything. So is that the fact that product parity is there? And in situations like this, when there's a product parity, how do you create differentiation for consumers?
Very good question, I must say. It's right. When people are seeking a loan, it doesn't matter whether bank A is giving them that loan or bank B is giving them that loan. They just need the money at the right time, right? But the time, the process, usually people would want to take the loan at the lowest interest rate and in the quickest way possible. That मुझे आज 2 घंटे में पैसे दे दो, lowest interest rate पे, I am happy. But the problem is, loan is a product where people who apply for it, they may not get it because the rejection rate is very high. So if 100 people apply for a loan, usually 30-35 people they get it.
Really?
The rejection rate is 60-65%.
You're talking about on your platform, or you're talking about industry as a whole?
Generally.
Generally.
The industry, roughly for 35% people they get it. 65% they do not get it. The reason can be numerous because of the salary or the credit factors or the ecological factors, place where you live in, PIN code, the employer you work for. There are a number of factors. Right now, here comes the opportunity to personalize. Because with the help of technology, we have built a model. We call it chances of approval. Because when you, as a consumer, when you come to Paisa Bazaar and you give us your details, there would be 20 different options, 20 different loan options. And as a layman, if you do not have the right knowledge of personal finance and how the banking works, you would go, most likely you would go for the first option, or you would sort it for, on the interest rate, and you'll go for the lowest interest rate option. Now, the thing is that bank may not approve you because of some or the other factors. And once you get rejected, you'll have to apply again. But each time you get rejected, the chances of you getting that loan becomes bleaker and bleaker. And that's why we, try to tell it to all our consumers that do not apply everywhere. Just come, compare your options, and then apply where your chances are the highest. And that's why we make the difference. Through the help of this model, and there are a number of parameters which have gone in, your credit factors, the other details which we are collecting, and we try to reverse engineer the credit algorithm of the partner, because we do not have access to it. Banks and NBFCs, they don't share it. So we have been in the market for last 10 years, almost 10 years. We have served millions of customers. We have roughly 40 million people who come to Paisabazaar to check their credit score at least a quarter, once in a quarter. And if I talk about the active CIBIL consumers, we have roughly 45% of them on our platform. So that is the kind of data which we have accumulated in last 10 years. And we are using that data to help these consumers, because they don't have to apply to multiple places and, just feel dejected when they get, rejection. So we try to help them, and this is the personalization which we are working.
So your personalization comes from this insight that almost 65% of the loans get rejected, and how do you make it easier, or how do you reduce the chances of rejection?
Yeah.
Don't you face any problem for your bank partners, because you are probably infringing on their proprietary, you're not doing it directly, but probably from your learning, you're actually understanding their credit policy and then figuring it out?
So it is not, so in a way we are helping them. If you are a bank, if I give you a customer who you anyway would be rejecting, so there is an effort, there is a process cost to it. Yeah. I am filtering that consumer for you. I am just giving you the right consumer where the chances are higher. It's a win-win situation for you as well as the consumer.
Nice. Interesting. Very interesting perspective. I did not know about this perspective. Thank you so much. Sujay, first of all, congratulations on the listing of your business.
Thank you.
And I think you're hearing this a lot these days.
Thank you, thank you.
But what I really liked about is, well, everybody calls it a listing day. You guys called it the Enlightenment Day.
Yeah, we did.
I'm sure it's an enlightening day for all of us, including shareholders like me. So yes. But, we are in interesting times. The market's outlook is fairly optimistic these days, and therefore there's a lot of interest among consumers in the overall wealth management business. But your business is increasingly become digital these days. But at the same time, you also have a network of, I'm talking about your wealth management business, which is, if I'm not wrong, 65 plus branches across the country, and you also do a mix and match of offline services plus online services. Is it easier to integrate the two, or would you like to continue focusing on one and probably building one for scale?
Thanks, Abhishek, for this question. But, okay, so how do I answer this? The way that we look at it is that we have to build our solutions and processes for the customer. Okay, and you're right, wealth in India is growing manifolds. It is growing not only in the cities that we are sitting and having our panel discussion about, but it is growing in multiple parts of the country. It's growing in tier 2, tier 3 cities where there is suddenly a realization of moving away from the traditional asset classes to more complex products, moving away from just about land, gold, real estate, and moving to, say, structured products, fixed income products, alternates for that matter, right? Now, while what we do is we actually use the tech platform as the backbone for everything that we do. But because the solution that we provide for that matter is very complex. I can't today, firstly, we are regulated for a reason, because there's a lot of mis-selling that happens in this category. And we welcome any move that comes in from the regulator to ensure that there is complete transparency for what needs to be done with the investors and in the interest of the investors. So one is that. Second is, you can't sit across or advertise on television or on any other platform and expect consumers to understand what your products are, because it's very difficult. It's not easy for us to understand how an alternates product, for that matter, will work and how will it actually give you more returns than the usual traditional products that are available. And that requires one-on-one interaction, engagement, multiple requests, multiple meetings, multiple interactions, and all of that. So you're right, we have actually more than 90 branches now across the country. We are expanding not only in like tier 1, tier 2 cities, but we are going deep into the country. We are opening branches in, for example, Dehradun, Kochi. We are opening branches in Lucknow. We are opening branches in a second branch in Gujarat. So if there was a branch in Ahmedabad, now we have a branch in Baroda. We have a branch in Surat. Things like that, right? But what happens at the end of it is that when a customer is onboarded, the onboarding is done through a tech platform, whether it is done through a branch network or whether the customer comes DIY and gets onto my platform through certainly whatever we've kind of made them available. So integrating them eventually happens on the tech platform for me. But for example, if I have come to meet you in Surat through a branch, okay, I have come to have a chat with you and understand your position with respect to your investments, your risk profile, your appetite, your current asset allocation and things like that. And that is when I kind of realize where you are, and that helps me understand what I can do right for you, instead of just telling you, saying, hey, here's a new product, why don't you buy it? So that's how the integration happens at the end of the day. So what I mean to say is that it's important for me to solve for the customer's need. Now, whether I do it through a branch network or do I do it through my owned platform, it doesn't really matter to me. Because at the end of the day, both of them converge and become, one data point for me.
Nice, nice. Since we have a couple of minutes left, I will probably do one question, because that question has been hovering on my mind for some time, and I'm sure that question must be in all of your mind also. Probably would like to get some insight on this. Kishan, these days everybody is talking about Gen AI. A lot of content is being produced through AI. A lot of content is being consumed as a result, which what Gen AI is producing. Number one, for the benefit, mainly my benefit, and I hopefully somebody in audience also, just demystify Gen AI for us. What does it do? And just give us some real life examples of how Gen AI is being used in content and how can marketers be used. But please explain it very simple terms so that we can understand it. Yes.
Thank you. Hello. Okay. So, this question gets asked to me because I come from PepperContent. We were the first users of GPT-3, like very first few users of GPT-3 across the world. We're using it from 2021. This is much earlier than what ChatGPT has come and given out. I'll ask a question to all of you, okay? Just bear with me for a couple of interactions, okay, with all of you. How many of you have used ChatGPT once? Raise your hands. Right. How many of you have used ChatGPT more than 10 times? Perfect, that's good. How many of you have used ChatGPT more than 100 times? How many of you have used ChatGPT for more than 389 days? Like 389 times, that's what I'm saying. It's been like once every day. Yeah, you've been using almost, yeah, that's one, right? How many of you really think your teams would ever be able to use ChatGPT every single day?
All of us.
Now, confused opinion, right? Now, I hope this is a very insightful gathering that's come out of this. So, generative AI, right? It's used in two ways. A Bain report says about this. It's either used directly as a service or it is used as a component of a different workflow that I was doing on. And this word workflow has just come up because all companies who have become cool and raised $1 million of funding on the Gen AI component are now started making workflows. So this term of workflows with generative AI has come up recently. See, the problem is, the question always was, will it be AI or humans? AI or humans, who will use it, how they will use it? I think it's pretty much clear that it will be AI plus humans. And I'll give you a very parallel example to this. This is what happened when a company like Grammarly came to the world. When Grammarly came to the world, ask any writer who was there back then, he used to think, my job is at risk immediately. See, Grammarly today, that is the best friend of writers in this case. That is how Gen AI will get integrated into your workflows. Now, just demystifying to what you asked exactly, For short form content creation, your marketing copies, your email copies to an extent, your listicle articles, top 5 things to do here and there, Gen AI is helpful till then. But I think a lot of you who were confused here did not raise your hands because you thought it's not doing the research for you, right? It's not augmenting on the data of your own companies. It's not been able to ingest that data itself. We are still in nascent stages of those times right now. What we feel and what actually, I mean, I've been speaking to a lot of people about this. It will be your enabler for 2 things. One is going to be dollar efficiency. It's going to help you save a lot of money. The second is going to be people efficiency. When I say people, it's not going to take your jobs up. It's going to let you do better things. And it's going to augment your life by saving your time, increasing productivity that way around. This is what I speak from the text side of things in this case. But I'm pretty sure if I ask the same question to all of you about Midjourney, I'm hoping some of you at least do not even know what Midjourney would be. Right? I'm pretty sure I've been asking it around the world this way. People who know Midjourney, they would not know what a runway ML is in that case. People who would know runway ML would not know what a stable diffusion is that way. Because ChatGPT came mainline and it just got very viral, all of us started using it. There's a long way to go still. I think one, and just the last part of your question, right? How are companies using it across? Has any of you guys ever seen that film of Coke being made using AI completely? The Christmas film, that museum film across. If you haven't, please go and check out the YouTube. No. I'm asked. Also, the museum film, there's this one film on YouTube. Please note it down and do look at it. After seeing the film, had you not known it is made using AI, you would have never imagined that ever it could be made using AI. It's just a bunch of 80 prompt engineers sitting in a room within 4 days making a film in a budget of $200,000, which would have ideally costed them $4.5 million. That's the kind of output and benchmark that's looking out. In India, I think we are still in nascent stages across. I'll give you a couple of examples of how companies are doing it. So one of the largest e-commerce giants in this case is using it for doing their product descriptions. A company like Flipkart for that matter, Airbnb for that matter, they're using it to make thousands of product descriptions every day. FSN, the description that comes in is one of the biggest levers for conversion from that page. A second company I would say who's using it really, really well is how people are using it for personalization, because that was the topic of the town in this case. I'm pretty sure all of you have seen the Shah Rukh Khan campaign that really went viral. The Cadbury campaign, there's a recent campaign that came in by Dark Fantasy, in which you had a face swap tech that had come in. You can be in the ad yourself, that has come in. I think that has got pretty much common still. I think the next thing is you would be able to create your own avatars and come in campaigns across. So that's like the next thing happening in this case. So, I mean, how people have been using it is, again, to save time and money. That's where I see a successful implementation of it. When people have told, I'll use generative AI directly as a service, where I just feed in some input, I get output, and I'll use it every day, we saw the hands going down with every single passing day that we saw. So I think there was a SaaS revolution that happened in India. There were so many SaaS products built out of India. Companies like Freshworks went public globally. Indian products were never looked at as subpar products in the world now, in that case. This 2018-19 to at least till 2040 is going to be that AI revolution. That's going to come in for sure. People who are looking forward to it, each one of us at some point in time have definitely spoken about how we can use AI in our companies, not just in marketing, but in some point in time another. BFSI always I have seen is the last lagger to a trend like this because of the compliance and data and security purposes in that case. But I think global players have started adopting. There's a Goldman Sachs on the other world who has made their own LLM. There is a Chase & Co. who is making their own LLM. There's a Bank of Scotland who has already made their LLM and they've made it public for other BFSI companies to buy it in that case also. So we are on an interesting cusp. I think 10 years down the line, we'll be sitting in the same room having this discussion. The discussions would be much different than what we have today. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Kishan, so much for this unique perspective and very informative. We have come towards the end of the session, and while I know we are a little over time, but I'm just taking the liberty that if you have any questions, all of our panelists will be happy to take it. So if there's any question, we would take it, or we are available here after this session. We can take it offline also. I leave the discussion. Yes, ma'am, please.
Hi. Kishan, my question is to you again. So with more and more, usage of generative AI, where do we see the lifetime value of content now?
I was expecting someone to ask that question, so thank you so much for asking that. Um, Again, it's the same thing, right? Content, it's very generically looked. I personally feel, I'm sitting here when I have sold more than 2 million pieces of content myself. So I can tell you for sure how people look at content themselves is very difficult and very different. There's some pieces of content that you have to make for the sake of beating the algorithms out. And there's some content that you have to make for the sake of your compulsion. A lot of that can be created by Gen AI. But if you are asking that, will we be able to create a thought leadership piece of content across? We won't be able to. There's a human needed who can use Gen AI to augment on what the skeleton of that article would be, create that, let it go. Similarly, with Midjourney, Runway ML, across any format of content. The lifetime value of content, a big question to that extension is, will AI content rank on SEO? Is the question that people ask. And if that's the case, everyone will have lifetime infinite of content in that case. Yes, we are going to go into that era. I personally feel that. But I think Google has now released the norms pretty much clearly on saying that the content written with any means doesn't matter. They won't ever contradict their own word. So, of course, that way around. But I think the frameworks are pretty clear on what will rank and what will not. And I can absolutely say that it's a myth that AI content won't rank. It ranks. I mean, trust me with the fact it ranks because you're making it rank. So.
No, it's not about ranking. What I'm trying to ask is, see, more and more people using AI.
Yeah.
And obviously similar content being generated. If one wants to, give financial literacy for that matter.
Yes.
And, getting those terms from AI and then, putting it on the website. Now, every person wants to put that on the website. Where does that lifetime value of content hold place then for across, platforms and across brands?
So the answer to that again is the same, that humanization approach of having that uniqueness to the content that you're creating. If you're just dependent on AI to put in 4 prompts and get an output, of course, you and I can have the same output and you can put on our own websites.
Correct.
In that case, that humanization aspect of how it can help us create the content faster is where AI will come to picture. Do we 100% depend on that? In some cases, yes. In most cases, no. So my answer to that would
I
be
think it's safe to say that, AI will not replace humans, but definitely humans who don't know how to use GPT.
I'll just add a small bit here. He's right. AI will not replace humans. It will just add on to it. It will be, a module in the process flow. Now, as long as the lifetime value of a content is concerned, it is not only the quality of content, it is also the distribution of the content. And when everyone is writing through AI and you have standardized something, and let's assume that there is no human angle and the quality of all the articles and all pieces of content are similar, more or less, then the onus is on other factors. There are 100+ factors which determine the ranking of your content piece on Google and on any search. And search is the largest distributor of content. So then you'll have to work on the other factors if this is at par.
Obviously, that other factors come into play because organic search eventually, pays off. That's what we saw. Lifetime value when we are talking about. We are talking about content that will go on for a long time. And will not stop, after the paid search is on. So, or off rather than this. So that's how it is, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And I would thank all my co-panelists for a wonderful discussion. And hopefully for the audience, we were able to make it interesting for you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.